Hey guys, well, I've decided I'm going to do my first gingerbread man. So I'm going to try and sketch it onto this rock really quick with a pencil, but you might want to wait until I've actually decided what I want it to look like before you start following along. Just to save some frustration, I didn't end up liking his legs like this. It just looks strange to me. So I do end up erasing the bottom half of his body and starting over. And I much prefer the outcome. So take a moment. I'm just putting some snow here. I do a line of snow and then I use a tiny little sponge to kind of drag some of that white paint downwards, and it kind of looks like soft snow that he's standing on now. So I'm just adjusting his shape again. I did erase his bottom half. Yeah, I changed the direction that his legs were going because he just looked really strange. You probably felt the same way when you were watching me sketch it out. So I'm kind of happy with his figure now. So I'm going to use some nutmeg brown. It just happens to be the perfect color for a little gingerbread guy. And I'm going to do a couple of coats of that so that you can't see any of the pencil lines and you can't see the rock through the gingerbread man. So that is going to take a couple of coats, but I'm also going to use a sponge and sponge out all of the brush strokes because it makes it kind of look like a softer cookie kind of texture. A lot of you have mentioned a tree in my little holiday gnome stones. You guys have been like, can we have a tutorial on the tree, please? So this is kind of like a little Charlie Brown Christmas tree, I guess you could say. It's really tiny and spindly, and there's not a whole lot of needles on it. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. I'm starting with a very dark brown and just putting on a couple of little branches, not too many. You don't want there to be too many. And while I let the dark brown branches kind of dry a little bit, I'm just sponging on a second layer of the nutmeg brown on my gingerbread guy. And you can use any kind of sponge. I am using Martha Stewart sponge daubers, which I find at Michael's. You can also find them at Walmart, I believe, and also Amazon. And if you don't want to spend money, you can easily use like makeup sponges or go cut up sponges that you purchase from like a Dollar Tree or something like that. Now I added a little bit of white to my nutmeg brown to lighten it up. And I'm just taking a sponge and I'm going just on the inside. I want to leave the darker brown around the outside and give it kind of like a cooked cookie kind of look to it. But I just want to make sure I keep the nutmeg brown around the outside. Make sure it's still noticeable. You still want to see that. You just want to put a layer of lighter nutmeg over top of that so that he looks more like a cookie. I think he's starting to look like a gingerbread man. So while we're letting him dry, we're going to actually add some classic green needles to our little pine tree here. And I'm just using my fine lining brush, which I have a tutorial for within all of my tutorials. It will also be listed in the description of this video. So click the down arrow to get all of the tips and tricks that I have to show you. So I'm just adding a couple of wisps here and there on every little branch. And some of these are a little heavier, so they're bending downwards. You can put as many little branches and needles as you want, but I'm keeping it kind of bare, keeping it bare. We're going to let that classic green dry, and then we're going to go back over it with two other colors, so you wait and see. I am using a metallic pearl white to do the icing on my gingerbread man, but you can use whatever color you want. You can just use white if you don't have pearl, or you can use pink or blue or green, whatever color you want. This is the fun part. You get to decorate your gingerbread man or woman, gingerbread person, however you want. This is just my gingerbread man, and you can copy it or you can create whatever kind of cute little outfit you want to put on there. So I'm just going to add a couple of lines here and there to show like the end of his sleeves and the end of his pant legs. And I'm going to use candy apple for his mouth. This is a Martha Stewart paint. It's nice and thick, so I only need to do like one little layer for his cute little mouth. Some people said this looks like Gingy, so that is an awesome compliment because I love Gingy. Gingy's from Shrek, and he's adorable. So I'm putting his little licorice eyeballs on here. I'm just assuming they're made of licorice because what other candy is black? I can't think of any other black candy. So I'm putting some gumdrop buttons on here. One drop is a hologram. I'm using a nail dotting tool, like a bigger ended one. And so I'm doing one hologram. So when it dries, it's going to be a sparkly teal. And then I'm doing one with purple and one with red. So fiery red, I believe it is, the glitter. And these are all Folkart glitter paints. You can use whatever kind of gumdrop buttons you want. You can put on little crystals there instead of gumdrop buttons. It's totally up to you. You get to be as creative as you want with it. So while I let his gumdrop buttons dry a little bit and his eyeballs, I'm adding in a lighter green over top. I'm just wisping a couple of needles in light green, and it gives it so much depth. And it really changes the way your tree looks when you add a couple of layers of different shades over top. So I'm using a bright green over top of the classic green. And it might not be easy for you guys to see on the video, but in person, there's a noticeable change in the needles on your tree. So I'm going to let those needles dry. And while I do that, I'm going to make them look like a little sparkling gingerbread man. I'm using some gold nail powder. The link for that is also in the description. It comes in like a set of 5 or a set of 7 different colors, and it lasts me years. So it's really worth the $8 or whatever it costs, depending on where you're buying it from. So I'm just adding some glitter so that he's got some glitter and some gold. And it just changes the way the cookie looks. Like it does look like a sparkling, yummy gingerbread cookie, and I just want to eat him up. But I'm not going to. We're not going to eat him. He is decorating his tree, and he's very excited about it. He has less snow than what I have right now, because yesterday we got dumped on. We got like way over a foot of snow yesterday, and it all happened like within a very short period of time. So my son's high school was shut down. The power went out. The buses weren't running. So yeah, kids were home for most of the day yesterday, and we have a lot of that white stuff now. But that's okay. It's winter, right? So while I'm letting his glitter simmer, I'm going to add a little bit of gold to the tree as well. So I'm just going to highlight some of the needles in gold, because why not? There's no reason that we shouldn't. And you can do whatever you want with your tree. If you've seen my holiday gnomes, the one with the tree, you've seen the Christmas balls that I put on there. So you can put Christmas balls on your tree. You can put lights. You can do whatever you want. It's totally up to you. So you get to be creative with whatever you put on your tree as well. If you want to just hang little bells or little icicles, I'm just going to be putting candy canes. So you can go all out. You can put a little star on top of your tree. It's totally up to you what you do. It's fun to paint and be creative. So, and I would love to see what you do with him, with your gingerbread rock. So please share pictures with me on Facebook at Rachel's Rocks. I would love to see them. So I am going to start the candy canes now. I did outline him in black, so a very fine line of black, and he really pops off the rock when you do that. So I'm just kind of letting his his buttons dry. They take a little while to dry because it's just a chunk of glitter sitting there. So make sure you let it dry really well before you seal it, or it's going to kind of be foggy and unattractive, to be honest. So I'm putting 4 candy canes, just starting off simple with white, and then adding some red stripes in there as well of different sizes and shapes. Not going to be all fancy schmancy. I'm also going to outline the candy canes in black so that they pop off the rock as well. So there's the candy canes. Sorry, part of his leg is not even showing. You guys can't even see the bottom of the rock. So I'm sorry for that. But I've been very careful around his buttons. Not my gumdrop buttons. That was my Gingy impersonation. I apologize for that. Oh, when you're stuck in the house with children and lots of snow, you go crazy. That's my excuse this time. I'm not tired. I'm crazy. So for those of you celebrating Thanksgiving, I celebrated my Thanksgiving here in Canada a little while ago. But you guys are celebrating this week, a lot of you that are followers of my channel. So just want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and stay safe and don't drink and paint. Like I said on my Instagram earlier today, don't drink and paint. It's not a good idea. So someone commented and said, don't dot and do shots, which is very, very, very good advice. I think that's really awesome. So I'm adding just some dots of white so that there's some snow falling in the background, and all of my snow has hologram on it. So I'm going to make sure that all of my dots have a little blob of hologram on there. I did do an outline of hologram on the snow below and made sure that all of the snow is sparkling, because who doesn't like sparkling snow? I know that I do for sure. So all the snow sparkles on this rock. Now I have put my signature on the bottom as well. I'm still letting the gumdrops dry, but I'm going to add some DuraClear gloss varnish over top of his cookie area where I put the glitter, because I don't want the glitter to trail off and land on the rest of the rock. Because when you seal it, that glitter does tend to move around a little bit because it's not stuck to the rock. So I'm covering it in this, once again, being careful I'm not wrecking my gumdrop buttons, and making sure that everywhere I put glitter is covered in the gloss so that that glitter stays where it's supposed to stay. It stays put. So when I resin it, after all of this is dry, I definitely let it dry for a couple of hours before I resin it so that everything is good to go. It's safer that way. So he is happy and shiny, and we're going to show it to you resined. My favorite part. Now, the resin did change the color of my rock, so it's a little bit green, actually. It's actually super nice in person. But I didn't change the background of the rock, just so you know. That's just what it looks like resined. I love you guys. I hope you love this one. Enjoy, and happy Thanksgiving to those of you who are celebrating. Keep painting.